A home away from home, Africa in our hearts. Hello, welcome to my new series, Relocating to Zimbabwe Exit Strategy Phase 1. My name is Maitha Mushaninga Fox and I am originally from Zimbabwe. I've been in Canada for the past 20 years. I am a full-time homemaker and I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I work from home, normally from 6 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I always make sure that supper is ready by 5:20 before Kevin comes home. And you may be wondering, why do you want to go back to Zimbabwe? Things are hard there. Stay in Canada. That's a good question. All I can say for now is I do not want to retire in Canada. I want to retire back home. So there's 3 phases to this strategy. So I don't know how many years each strategy takes, but I'm working on phase 1, and phase 1 is complete. But I'm still working on phase 1, but it's almost done. So yay, so 2 more phases. So if you're in the diaspora and you are thinking about relocating back to Africa, wherever you came from, please make sure you do your due diligence, you do your homework. So I am going to share with you the steps I took to make sure that phase 1 goes well. So these are the steps I took on phase 1. So there are different steps. So step number 1, you need to make sure you frequent by going to Zimbabwe and staying a little bit of longer periods so that you have a feel of how it is. For example, when I stayed in Zimbabwe at one time for 6 weeks, I had the feel of what it feels like to be in Africa. And you gotta understand, we are living in the like first world countries. So when you go to the third world countries, there are some challenging things you have to make sure you understand. For example, if you are doing business in Zimbabwe, the network can be an issue depending on the location. And also Wi-Fi, I find it very expensive. And the other major issue is electricity, the load shedding. Like the electricity goes a lot. So if you ever decide to go back, especially in Zimbabwe, you gotta be prepared for that. So make sure you are set up with solar system so that the electricity going is not going to affect your personal and your business life. And another thing you really need to figure out is, where are you going to be staying? Do you want to stay in the city or you want to stay in the rural areas? That's very, very important. So you have to either buy a house that's already built, or you can find land and develop on it. So that's what we did. For me personally, I prefer to stay in the rural area. So I chose rural area to build. So we have a borehole, we have solar system, fully functioning flushable toilet. So these things are very, very important, because if you're used to a certain lifestyle in the diaspora and then you go back, you don't want to regret. So make sure before you go to Zimbabwe or back to your country, understand where you are going to be staying. It's important to frequent. So if you're not able to go maybe for 6 months, maybe you can go 6 weeks at a time, like go every year. And this will give you an idea if this is really what you want to do to relocate. But all the problems I found in Zimbabwe, they can be fixed if you plan ahead. So when we found the place, so we are making sure that we are able to sustain ourselves, especially when it comes to food. So we have started collecting, rearing goats and chickens. You know, you don't have to worry about meat. So we are doing the chickens that lay eggs. So we can actually sell the chickens and the eggs and the goats, because when you are in Zimbabwe, you need to sustain yourself. And I find it very exciting when I'm using the money I am making from projects, while like projects in Zimbabwe. So that's another thing you have to really make sure you have planned how to sustain yourself. Okay, guys, do you see this? The snow is like, this is one of my driving forces why I do not want to retire in Canada. This is too much. You know, normal winters are supposed to be 3 months, but here in Canada, we are in the snow, in the cold, almost 6 months, and you are forced to be in the house most of the time because it's too cold to go out. Don't get me wrong, I love Canada. I truly do. This is my home away from home, but you gotta prepare for the future. And another thing, people want to retire here, they want to retire back home in Zimbabwe or in Africa. But if you don't understand some of the things, you might not survive. So you find there are some people who want to retire here in Canada, and that's okay. But you gotta understand the implications of retiring in Canada. When you retire, when you are old, maybe the only option for you is nursing homes or retirement homes. Those places are not fun. I used to work in the nursing homes, retirement homes. Sometimes the treatment some of those elderly people get, if you are a child and you see your parents or your relative being mistreated, it can be painful. So before you think about retiring in Canada, do your investigations how the retirement homes and the nursing homes are. And don't go yet. I still have a few more minutes. So before I complete this, please like, share, and subscribe. If you know anybody contemplating relocating to Africa, Zimbabwe, wherever they came from, please share this video with them. And subscribe. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about now. So I'm going to do part 2 of phase 1. So remember, I told you phase 1 involves finding land and starting to build. So I'm going to share part 2 on the do's and don'ts of building in Zimbabwe. So this is very, very, very important. Why is it important? I want you to avoid a situation whereby you're sending money and people are telling you things are going well, and then 10 years later you go there, there's nothing. They spend your money, they build their own houses with your money. So make sure you ring the bell so that you get notified when I come on part 2 on my own experiences from when I was building. There's a lot of things you need to understand before you start the building process. I am telling you, this is going to save you a lot of headaches, it's going to save you a lot of heartaches, and it's going to save you a lot of money. So I will see you part 2 of phase 1 of relocating to Zimbabwe exit strategy. So thank you. Subscribe, like, and share.